Folks, Congress controls the power of the purse, war, all of it. Why not just have a dictator or the president handles it? I mean, that's our Constitution. It's unbelievable. Under the War Powers Act, if ICBMs have been launched, the Congress has already given the president the power with the nuclear football to respond. But he's already been given that duty and been voted that power by the Congress. The argument of, well, he can just strike anybody he wants without Congress to say so or without anybody else to say so because he's the commander-in-chief. He's only the commander-in-chief when war has been declared and authorized. And then the mission, the war bill is passed and handed to the president to execute. The war bill is passed and handed to the president to execute. That's how that works, ladies and gentlemen, not the other way around. Or why not just have a Napoleon Bonaparte or a Hitler, for that matter? You know, Hitler was elected. But he used war and crises as a way to erode the basic checks and balances. So during the break, I go back there to get a glass of water, and I'm watching CNN with retired military officers on saying, you're not allowed to protest when you're active duty in the military. And the people that are criticizing Obama and the Syria strike, they could be arrested. And we were actually able to then back it up on the DVR. We have it recorded. If I have time later, I'll play a clip of it. But the point here is, over a week and a half ago, before Obama even gave his speech and announced the strike, but when they had Kerry pushing it, we saw on Twitter and Facebook all these military people, because a lot of them were InfoWars listeners. They were sending us the photos directly to our email and saying, hey, look at my photo. I'm going public here. Please don't say my name. Because some of them have Facebooks that, they use a nom de plume or a pen name on. Some of them have gone public. We've had some of them on the show, active duty. And they're now on TV saying, you better watch it or we'll arrest you. Folks, did the German military in 1944 have a right to try to resist Hitler? Of course they did. If the president was hypothetically beating children's brains out with baseball bats on the White House lawn, would it be illegal? Well, Nixon said it wouldn't be illegal. When the president does something, it's not illegal. Of course, the courts, common law, Constitution say that's not true. The president can be arrested for misdemeanors like anybody else. Well, these are high crimes, ladies and gentlemen, high crimes and misdemeanors. You can be impeached. And then after you've been found guilty by the House and the Senate, they can have your butt clapped in irons. Any of these JAG courts could go after the globalist. But the number one thing that needs to happen, and Congressman Walter Jones is coming on this week, has introduced the legislation, is to begin impeachment proceedings on Obama. Because if they don't have the votes in the House, so they say, well, we're not going to vote now, Obama, you're allowed to attack. No, he's not. No, he's not. You're only allowed to attack if somebody's got missiles fueling and is going to fire them. Then the Congress has already given the president the authorization. Now people are seeing through this. So there's a constitutional crisis, and day by day the awakening builds as they try to say, you're a terrorist if you criticize the government. It's unconstitutional to criticize the government. It's illegal. The founding fathers are bad. Obama truth squads will come after you if you talk bad about the dear leader. We'll arrest members of the military if they criticize this war. You keep your mouth shut. You shut your mouth. It is not just the right of military personnel, active duty, non-commissioned, and commissioned, to criticize an executive and to criticize their commanders when they're doing things that are patently unconstitutional and patently illegal. It is not their right. It is their absolute duty. It is their absolute duty. It is their absolute duty. I've read the Uniform Code. I've read the military codes. And they're all based on the Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Magna Carta, common law, folks. If someone gives you an order to commit a crime, you become just as guilty as who gave the order when you follow it. That's why the mafia, soldiers get in trouble for doing a murder, and the boss gets in trouble for ordering the murder. The Nuremberg precept is that just following orders does not make you not guilty. In fact, it makes you just as guilty. And then you have the Führer precept that came in 1933, saying the Führer is above the law. And so our government is bringing in the Führer precept, the leader precept, the king precept, the right of kings, the sovereign, where under NDAA, Obama can just say, take them away to the dungeon. And then all of his designates can spy on you without warrants or secretly arrest you or shoot you in the back for no reason or kill you during an interrogation, and nobody gets in trouble because we're getting deep down the tunnel. And our military knows the government grows the drugs and ships them in. Our military knows that the big contractors run the sex trade. Our military knows our government runs and has been training al-Qaeda for at least 2.5 years in Jordan and in Libya, and is trying to turn the Egyptian government over to al-Qaeda while they blow up dozens of churches every week. And our media calls them protesters. Our military knows about Benghazi. The problem is that multiple situation rooms on aircraft carriers and at NATO and at CENTCOM in Florida were all watching live predator feeds of the 7-hour killing of the ambassador and others, and watched al-Qaeda haul all the missiles and weapons out of the 3 warehouses. I've talked to the military. It's all been seen. It's all known. The whole military knows. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. The government runs al-Qaeda. Of course they run al-Qaeda. And they run al-Qaeda, and they're going to turn Syria over to al-Qaeda. And the truth is the military is freaking out right now because they're following orders, folks. They're in there serving al-Qaeda, who's the main force, and it is melting things down. It is not just the right of military personnel, active duty, non-commissioned, and commissioned, to criticize an executive and to criticize their commanders when they're doing things that are patently unconstitutional and patently illegal. It is not their right. It is their absolute duty